bullying,
the Me Too movement against sexual harassment,
toxic masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get?
On January 13th last year, Gillette released an advert that takes the company's 30-year-old slogan, "The best a man can get," turns it into introspective reflection on toxic masculinity, very much of this cultural issue of this time, changing their slogan to "A best a man can be," piggybacking on the women's Me Too movement, taking the social issue that men are to be more responsible and more mature in everyday actions. The nearly 2-minute video narrates different aspects of growing up, from boys getting bullied, teens watching media representatives of macho guys objectifying women, and of men looking into the mirror while news reports of #MeToo and toxic masculinity play in the background. A voiceover asks, "Is this the best a man can get?" The answer is no, and the film shows how men can do better. The world is saturated with digital media that moves at a dizzying pace. Edward Timke tells of a 2016 study revealing that a person can spend about 10.5 hours per day consuming media, most of which is now done on a computer, mobile phone or a tablet. Instead of falling under the radar with their advert, Gillette have tried and used marketing tactics like viral marketing and woke advertising simultaneously in their adverts. Matthew Easton tells of viral marketing where the premise is of an old word-of-mouth idea of turning every user online into an involuntary salesperson. The advert's underlying message was no doubt viral among the internet, where it was able to generate lots of reactions and prompted conversations about masculinity. But what is the advert conveying? Rather, the semiotic question concerning what the ad is telling us about contemporary society as a whole in the 21st century and what we can do to help the future. For those who aren't aware, Daniel Chandler tells us that semiotics is concerned with everything that can be related to signs. This can involve not only what we refer as a sign, but everything that a particular object stands for. Signs take form of words, images, sound gestures and objects. Richard Zakia also helps communicate the idea of semiotics as a sign that can be taught of anything that conveys meaning. Contemporary social semiotics has moved beyond the initial focus of reading television or media, and more focuses on signifying system as languages, seeking to explore the use of signs in specific social situations, or in this case changing the culture around toxic masculinity. By deconstructing an advertisement, we can learn how it was created and discover its underlying message, but by doing so we also discover the way in which words and pictures work together to reinforce Gillette's message, how the alpha-pictorial components utilise gesture, art, myth and symbol to give emotional impact. Advertising postmodernism now promotes consumption itself as a way of life through the circulation of signs, as opposed to telling consumers what the products do or mean. We no longer consume to satisfy a need or task, but rather relate to a message or brand.
Bullying,
the Me Too movement against sexual
toxic
harassment,
masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get?
I think it's self-explanatory. Gillette's product range caters to mostly men in the personal grooming market. Their campaign includes different aspects of day-to-day life that may involve men, from bullying kids to another man's first ever shave. The male theme is rampant, which is obvious, keeping in mind the message that they're trying to portray to the listener and consumer. The graphics have a strong emotional appeal. The main focus of the ad is showing different examples of how men can better themselves in simple ways to help live in a better world and pave the way in the right direction for the next generation. The ad uses important imagery from the get-go, where various men are staring at their own reflection with commentary of toxic masculinity, giving the idea that they are not happy with the way things are going. Another example is for men to re-examine the phrase "boys will be boys," instead to help support boys emotionally and intervene if they see something like bullying. It's only by challenging ourselves to do more that we can get closer to our best. These particular examples work together to reinforce Gillette's message. The imagery and message thrives on visual representations that the consumer can then grasp the feeling that men right now want to be better but don't necessarily know how. The language used, I find, is important in the critical analysis of this advert. We have to first realise the true nature of the ad and its underlying meaning, which is that gender is culturally constructed through society, and that we all have a responsibility to shape the future of our society. Not only is Gillette trying to convey toxic masculinity, but also it's raising the issue of harmful racial stereotypes. It does this by highlighting Terry Crews's congressional testimony in which he advocated for men to stand up and intervene in toxic culture. It isn't an attack on men or an attempt to stop them from being men. It's about letting boys be any kind of boys they want to be, and more importantly, it's about letting them understand and realise it matters to care. All in all, that the advert is emotionally moving as an ad can ever hope to be. Woke is a new term that refers to awareness of current social and economical issues. Only recently companies have took the idea of a stance on important issues where they can add value towards their corporate social responsibility, instead of being too fearful of alienating customers with specific views. The internet named this type of advertising woke advertising. Edward Tim again conveys the message that can link towards the idea of woke advertising. He expresses advertisers and companies now need to be more vigilant in their handling of their messages, products and services, and how the public sees and reacts to them. The Razor brand's We Believe campaign is another wave of campaigns that use a social implicit message to try and raise their share in the market and win over customers. Instead of promoting their own products, they address the issue of toxic masculinity. This is not the first attempt by the parent company Procter & Gamble, which saw huge success in its campaign, which aired in 2014. The 3-minute video of men and women are asked to do things like a girl. The short film quickly shows viewers that acting like a girl is often taken as an insult, as many of the people in the video giggle, flip their hair, flail their arms around when they are asked to run, throw and fight like a girl. Yet when young girls are asked to run, fight and throw like a girl, the results are drastically different. When one girl is asked what it is meant to run like a girl, she responds by saying it's meant to run as fast as you can, prompting always to ask, when did something like a girl become an insult? The campaign won a number of awards and currently has more than 60 million views on YouTube. Nike is another example of a campaign featuring Colin Kaepernick, which embraced civil rights, Black Lives Matter and activism with a portrait of the American football star straplined, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything." Donald Trump famously responded, but look, that's his opinion. This type of advertising can go either way in the opinion of the viewer. Instead of woke advertising, it can take the opposite turn and take the shape of woke washing. Pepsi is an example of this, where Kendall Jenner takes part of a photo shoot, takes notice of a march, joins the crowd, works her way through the protesters that are close to rioting on the front line, approaches the police officer on the front line, and makes a peace offering by handing him just a can of Pepsi. Although the intention of Pepsi's Live Bolder, Live Louder, Live For Now ad was to show how diverse groups of people in law enforcement could unite peacefully, the ad was criticised by using just movements and recent clashes that are between protesters and police, taking it lightheartedly, especially in the light of the Black Lives Matter movement. The main issue for many people was it featured a wealthy white woman as the saviour and solution for easing tensions between both parties. Along with the ad, Gillette has donated over $1 million a year for the last 3 years to non-profit organisations with programs designed to inspire, educate and help men of all ages achieve their personal best and become role models for the next generation. All under the umbrella of a Best a Man Can Get grant. Gillette broadcasts meaningful semiotic signs that are exchanged among consumers and other brand owners as a form of social currency, seemingly to reveal something about the society that people can gravitate towards. The We Believe campaign goes beyond the overused term corporate social responsibility and instead calls for men to inspire and facilitate real positive change in exchange to better and forge a path for the youth of today. Of course, many brands are reluctant to go this far for fear of offending the already continuously offended. As a business perspective, it has undeniable potential to help join the conversation rather than interrupting. I personally like the advert and feel the message comes across quite well, and I definitely do not feel offended for something trying to say, hey, if you could be better, would you try, and shouldn't you try for the sake of being a good role model? I don't understand the uproar it has seemed to cause. Critics seem to be online that this ad is shameful and disrespectful towards men, or that we are feminizing men. Stopping a gang of kids beating up another kid is apparently feminine. People seem to ignore the explicit message of the advert, which is that gender is culturally constructed and that all have responsibility to shape the future of our society. And I, for one, am delighted for a company is trying to change the culture around masculinity for the sake of a razor sale.